Hi, Ishan. Thank you so
Hello.
much for taking out time to come on the show. And I wish you happy Diwali. And I look forward to a conversation.
Yeah, same way. Happy Diwali to you and your family, everyone. Right, and thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It's like I think from podcast point of view, it's my first podcast. Though
Okay,
I've been giving interviews, but postcard, yeah, it's the first one. I'm looking forward
great,
to
great.
having.
Looking forward to our conversation. So, before we start to get to know about your professional journey, how has your personal journey been? मतलब ये शुरू कहाँ से हुआ आपका career, and then when did you decide that you want to get into a business and that too kind of bootstrap and don't
Correct,
get funding? So,
correct.
what's your journey? How has Ishan evolved over these years?
Yeah, so basically I am a typical mechanical engineer, as you'll find very common in India, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's always been my dream to be a mechanical engineer. Like
Mm-hmm.
from school times I have chose to be a mechanical engineer, right? I have
Mm.
been pretty good in studies, marks अच्छे थे, and also peer pressure, family pressure कि IT में जाएगा हो जाएगा. But I never
Right.
focused on that, right? I mean, it was never my intention. Although we tried, everyone tries for IIT if you're science, right?
Correct. Correct.
Right. So we tried, but yeah, it was never like नहीं हुआ तो नहीं होगा. So I joined a college in Delhi, NCR, engineering college,
Mm-hmm.
right? And from there, my mechanical engineering journey began. And from initially, from the early stage of my college and all, I was more focused on developing something, be it anything which can, generate something, some value, right? So
Right.
colleges, some projects, and coming out doing freelancing and all, right? First
Hmm.
year, second year, I was with the mindset, yeah, jo hona hai hoga, it's your life. But from second year, the life took a turn kind of a thing. Like I thought, yeah, I mean, it came to me. I don't know how it came to me, but it was like, जो होना है होगा. But if
Correct.
until unless we don't put an effort, उसमें मजा नहीं है, right? So yeah, मतलब वो मजा नहीं है life में. So from there, I with my friends and all, I initially started taking freelancing projects. वही एक दो मिल गया नहीं मिला. Then we started our workshops, training and all, any typical and all. We used to train fourth year students also for designing and all. मैं design में हाथ अच्छा था, like technical stuff, right?
Hmm.
And college, especially apart from studies, it teaches you. If you're living in a hostel, like apart from a city, like I belong from Calcutta, the eastern side, right? And going to
Hmm.
Delhi, it's a complete turn of a
Cultural
culture,
shift.
or right?
Correct. Correct.
So it gave me a broad spectrum, right, to understand like how people orient
Hmm.
themselves there. And it was a challenge, plus it was a good thing, I suppose, like when you come
Right.
out alone and you work out with peoples and all. So I mean, it was from there only our journey started. My personal journey started like कुछ करना है अभी, like
Hmm.
जॉब करेंगे ऑब्वियसली, बट इनिशियली इट वाज समवेयर माइंड में था कि कुछ अपना करना ही है. Not for with the greed of money, it never have been, and it's still now not now, but it's because of, maybe you can say, the drive which pushes you, or something,
Right.
the passion of doing something, having of your own, right? The
Right. Right.
satisfaction that you get up in the morning and you have something to do again and again, right?
Yeah.
I
That's
feel
that's
like,
very important.
yeah, I feel like if you know what you're going to do tomorrow, it's kind of a boring, है ना? Like right, पता है सुबह जाना है 9 बजे, and I mean, I'm not against with that, but for me it's like,
Correct.
आजकल इंसान जीता ही कितना है, 50-60 साल जीता है. पहले के बुजुर्ग
That's
लोग हैं जो अभी तक 100 150 100 साल के ऊपर है, बट वी आर लाइक इन उस लाइफ में, लाइक यू नो and from there my personal space started. I started a technical hub kind of a thing, taking freelancing projects and all. And my
hmm.
friends and all also started, and I'm from a ICSC board, right? So in
Oh.
ICSC board we are taught like to be precise, right? अगर 10
Yeah.
marks का है, it's not like you have to fill the page, you have to write, अच्छा, you have stated
उतना
the
ही.
points,
Correct.
हाँ, उतना ही. So
हाँ.
I came from that background, and when I went to the college in first year, I like, we used to get one sheet 40 pages, you have to fill it, kind of thing. But I was like, भाई इतना पॉइंट में मैंने बता दिया, so 20 पेजेस में मेरा हो जाता था. Then the mark sheet came, I was like 70%, 72%. So I was like, यार लिखा तो मैंने बढ़िया से था. Then मुझे, I got understanding that वहाँ पे ऐसे नहीं होता है. So then I got, okay, अब this is the scenarios and I will adopt it. So वहाँ से adaptation came into, okay, ये ऐसे होते हैं चीजें when you come out and all that. And yeah, from there I, being a mechanical, finding a core job is difficult, है ना? and coming out of a
Correct.
code, looking for a core job. But I also got many offers, but I was, focused towards getting a job in mechanical, either design sector or specifically in, manufacturing or something. So I thought पहले
Hmm.
उसमें करेंगे, let me grasp some experience something. So first,
Hmm.
I remember I started with a 5,000 rupees work where we used to go and train. Like I used to get up in the morning at around 5:30 in Ghaziabad. I used to go to Gurgaon,
Oh,
right?
Baba.
Yeah, the metro and all and all and all. Used to 9, then used to work and then come back. So my family was like, क्या इतना effort लगा के what you're getting. So my mindset was from the beginning very much like 22, 23, 24, 25 साल तक you have to push yourself, right? You need to
You're
get
right.
to adapt to things, right?
Correct. Correct.
I
Correct.
mean, you don't know what, if you are very much sure that यही करना है, then you're okay. But I mean, I knew that I will have to do something in technical aspect, but what it is going to be, I was not very much sure about it, है ना?
Hmm.
So वहाँ से फिर then I joined one other company of my friend. He was into that. That also didn't work out. Like I was around 12K or something. Then उसमें मजा नहीं आया. Then I went to
Hmm.
Pune, right? And
Okay.
Pune, my brother was there. He told, come here, and then there I joined around 20K or something,
Hmm.
right? And अब वहाँ पे भी wherever I was earning ना, so it was like my full salary was like जो बचता था I used to put in something, कुछ बनाने में या any product something. So there was no saving at
Correct.
all. And
Correct.
because that's how I've been throughout my life, right?
Hmm.
And from वहाँ से एक प्रोडक्ट बनाया, I didn't work out. फिर 3 महीने बाद कुछ और प्रोडक्ट बनाया, I didn't work out, right? So ऐसे ऐसे करते 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 now we are into a space where you know the
Hmm.
business that I'm into, it's like pretty good where I'm at. Yeah, so that's
Right.
that's the ups and downs that I've been facing.
तो ये 3D प्रिंटिंग में आने का डिसाइड कब हुआ?
हाँ,
यू
so
टिपिकली फ्रॉम डिजाइन, सो डिजाइन से
yeah,
3D प्रिंटिंग.
राइट. सो कैसा होता है कि 3D प्रिंटिंग इज अ डोमेन वेयर इट्स अ डिपेंडेंट टेक्नोलॉजी. इट इज डिपेंडेंट अपॉन प्रोडक्ट डिजाइन. If you have a design, then you can 3D print it, right? And I'm
करेक्ट.
being from a tech background. I had no knowledge of business, zero knowledge of accounting,
हम्म.
zero knowledge of all that. So as I was in Pune na, so that
हम्म.
those 2 to 3 years of my Pune was the core thing which framed me out as of today, right? So
हम्म.
वहाँ पे I was working in the company, obviously in design department, and I came across. I went to this expo, and there was this 3D
ओके.
printing going on, and
हम्म.
it was like fascinating, right? That we can do
हम्म.
something about it. We are creating something, and
करेक्ट.
right. So what I did, so I created a urgency in my company to develop a 3D printed part, right?
ओके.
So I told them first. Showed them the sample from my pocket.
हम्म.
See, this is the part,
हम्म.
and if you will get it, then this will work out. So I thought if
हम्म.
I have to take it, let me first convince my company that they have the need and get a 3D printer for them. So I did that, right? And I bought a 3D printer at the company. They got their value, and I operated there. Then I thought, yeah, it is having some value here, right? So
हम्म.
if it's having some value here, then I can create some value here, and I can replicate the same in the eastern part, where comparatively to western and southern part, the tech industry is less, right? So the whole concept was that. So in that around say 2017 to 19 and all, I was there, right? And my life cycle was something like this. Like I used to get up at say around 7:38, and 8:39 I had to reach the office. So I just used to take vada pav on the way
हम्म.
and go to the office, then do some work. In the lunch time, I used to take my HR scooty, right, and come
हम्म.
back to my PG. And in the PG, I had installed a small machine of 3D printer in the PG's kitchen,
ओके.
right?
ओके.
So in the kitchen, I had installed it, right?
हम्म.
And I told my PG guy, you take 500 rupees extra, whatever the charges are, I will pay it, no issues. So I used to go to the office, take my HR scooty during lunchtime, come back to the PG, put some prints and order something, and then take a vada pav and go back there. And then evening when I used to come, then again that same process, aake jana and all. So it was like complete. At a point, I was something like my mind was so much. You can say I have slept with ice packs behind my head
अरे
because
बाप रे,
I
आई नो
was
यार.
so yeah. I was so much into that much like one incident I remember. At night I was just sleeping. It was 8
हम्म.
p.m. So
ओके.
sir called me, right?
हम्म.
So I just saw the phone. I thought it's 8 a.m. So I just ran up from the bed. Sir, मैं आ रहा हूँ, मैं आ रहा हूँ, मैं आ रहा हूँ, मैं आ रहा हूँ. So he said, no, 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 I just called you to have you mailed it or not. Then I saw from the balcony it's night. So that kind of frustration was there during that time. So yeah, I mean, and that's pretty good, right? Because when you have to move ahead, you have to come across the challenges, and वही सब घिस घिस के तो चमक आती है.
Yeah, I mean, as you very rightly said, वही घिस घिस के ही चमक आती है. If you did not go through that struggle, you will not understand the essence of what you're building now, right? So
Correct, correct, correct.
now let's talk about your current company. How did this start, and why do you have this unique name for your company?
Yeah. So it started back in Pune only, 2018, right? And before that, I started few products, but it didn't work out. As I told, I'm not from a business background, right? My father is a advocate and notary public, and
Okay.
I don't have any knowledge, proper knowledge of business, right?
Hmm.
So from there, I started ki yeah karna hai, right?
Hmm.
So my one thing that I came across, I got a government job. Uh,
Oh,
in Aurangabad. I went for the interview, and I gave the
okay.
interview. The interviewer said, across all the candidates, you are the one who we feel is fit,
Hmm.
considering the knowledge you are sharing. I said, okay.
Right. Right.
When I completed the interview, I met one guy. He was starting up, right?
Okay.
We were just discussing kind of networking kind of a thing. So he said to me, he said, we have a startup of this. And so I said, since you have a startup, you are doing something. Why you came here? So he said to
Hmm.
me, I mean, we have it, but nahi chala to ye kar lenge. Then it
हाँ.
clicked my mind. I mean, it has already clicked before, but I didn't notice. So from there, I understood now. If you're having a backup in life now, so whenever you are going down, you just leave it and get back,
Correct. You'll get back to
right?
the backup.
Right.
Correct.
So what I did at that moment is I thought सारे backup हटा देंगे. So I'm not from business background. I had my job, so I was working there. I didn't take that government job, right? And obviously, family was like a bit
Of
क्यों
course.
छोड़ दिया ना, right?
Correct.
Especially in India culture, right? So I
Right.
thought
Right.
सारे backup हटाएंगे. अब जब backup ही नहीं रहेगा, जब you are going through that down period, where will you run, right?
Correct.
So
There's just one direction to go.
correct. So there is one direction to do, and that is it. So वही किया मैंने, and from there I started taking small orders and all. So first, initially it was like value देना है अपने को, right?
Hmm.
It's not about money; it's about value. And the first order that comes, it like for any entrepreneur, any founder, it is like the first value that you give. It's very unique. It always stays in your
It's
mind,
very important. Correct.
right?
Correct.
So as I told my cycle, so I got few orders. So I used and 3D printing is something, it's of time basis, 3 hours, 5 hours, anything like that, right?
Right.
And so I used to put the prints at night. Used to put an alarm for 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. at night. Used to get up, change the
Oh,
print, then sleep again, then get up at 7, then that again, HR
job and
scooty,
everything. Yeah.
HR scooty come to the PG, then again print. So ऐसे चलता रहा.
Hmm.
Then things happen in personal life. Lost someone, my closest uncle, to cancer there in Pune,
Oh my God.
right?
Hmm.
Then 2019 I came back to Calcutta, right? And then I thought we'll set up here. In 2019 I got struck by a big disease, and I was just going through, and it was like things are not going right, right?
Hmm.
Business है चल नहीं रहा है, personal issues हैं, तो what to do, man? So that was the
Correct.
time I said it was good I didn't keep any backup. So if I would have, then I wouldn't be sitting here right now, right? And
Yeah.
so that I dragged myself across those years, and currently we are the leading 3D printing service provider across this region of our region, right?
Hmm.
And as you
Hmm.
mentioned about the name, so Melt is something. The uniqueness is it's a name which when you communicate it comes out, right? So when you're talking about 3D printing, we talk about the materials, how at what temperature do you melt it, like what is the so it's a conversational name. So that's why
Correct.
it's a brand itself. So that's why I chose it. Like, yeah, that's the story.
Great. So पिछले 4 साल में you started it from Pune, you went through the grind yourself, you shifted to
Mm-hmm.
Calcutta, and then COVID came in, and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of sailed your business through all of these
Correct.
say turbulent times.
Correct.
Now my I'm very curious to understand कि why bootstrap. Did you ever think कि आपको मार्केट से पैसा उठाना है, कि bootstrap पे ही क्यों इतना फोकस किया?
सो बेसिकली मेरा फंडा स्टार्टिंग से ऐसा रहा है ना कि पहले अपने प्रोडक्ट को स्ट्रॉन्ग करना है, राइट? आई हैव सीन स्टार्टअप्स लाइक यू हैव अ ग्रेट
Hmm.
प्रोडक्ट, You
Yeah.
have a great, either you have a, amount with you, or you raise it and then you launch it in the
Mm.
market. So my fundamental was, see, I obviously I was not from a that background that I know what are the financials, what are the equity
Correct.
and everything. At the time
Correct.
I wasn't aware of those things, right? And so I thought like first product में दम लाते हैं, प्रोडक्ट में दम
Mm.
होगा तो मार्केट में अपने आप बोलेगा. That was my concept from initially. And when I came to Calcutta, here also, like I saw like इतने लोग हैं जो Facebook में, you see we are doing this, we are doing that, but when you're talking about the revenue, there's no revenue, right?
There's no
So
revenue. Absolutely.
right, so you're creating a hype in the market, but you're going to giving tech talk, you're going to college giving talks, but when you're talking about revenue, which should be the actual, testing thing for any startup or any company, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not talking
Absolutely.
about profit or loss. I'm just talking about net revenue, right? You are delivering
Correct.
some values. You're having customers, right? वो होना चाहिए. So initially I didn't have any, right? Initial two
Mm.
years, very less, very less. So I thought, पहले let's work it out. Let's create a base, right? So वही एक issue था जो लोगों को अक्सर try to ignore it, and this hype or trend, it works out maybe for a small short period of time. Then you have to open your eyes, right? You have to convince yourself like, नहीं यार, it's not about just the flow कि ये हो जाएगा, हो जाएगा, हो
Mm.
जाएगा, हो जाएगा, right? It's not just about the not giving up spirit. It's also about the two things that come previously, that I believe, that is
Correct.
think bright and move on. So you have to
Move
have
on.
these two things. You have to think bright, if ऐसा
Mm.
है तो what we can do, and you have to move
Correct.
on. You have to move on with your previous experiences, and then you have to have that never giving spirit, like ठीक है करेंगे. But you, as a founder, you must also have this, self criticizing, yeah, accepting criticism spirit. So वो
Correct.
करते हुए I thought, first let's build our value. And yeah, so yeah, we became profitable after that. And obviously we are not that very big of a team. We are a team of 5 6 people, but each of my person in my team is, very hardcore in the job he or she does, right?
सो व्हेन आपने जब डिसाइड किया कि जॉब छोड़ के भी बिजनेस करना है, सो व्हेन यू डिसाइडेड दैट नाउ दिस इज इट, देयर इज नो बैकअप प्लान, देयर इज नो बैकअप, दिस इज द डायरेक्शन दैट आई वांट टू गो, हाउ डिड योर फैमिली रिएक्ट, एंड दैट टू व्हेन when the business, as you said, right, you did not have the business acumen, you did not have the business background, your family does not have a business history, how did you sail through that?
Yeah, so that was a pretty tough time, and it's a pretty good question also. So the thing is, when I knew I had to do it, so there are two options: either you tell it to your family and get them on board, or either you don't tell your family and then you figure it out, right? Because for the second option, you should have that confidence, right?
Correct.
So when you're building something now, uh, there are, losses, not financial. You lose friends, you lose, family circles, you might lose some relationship, anything, like, right? And that's the price that you have to pay. So what I did
Correct.
was, see, my father is supportive, he's very supportive, obviously.
Okay.
And his mindset is, which I currently believe is pretty much like the mindset that we should be having. He said, you earn पैसा कमाओ, that is not good, but you should earn that much जिसमें you don't forget yourself, right? Like, if you just,
Correct.
especially the IT guys, right? Like the timing of रात के 2 3 बजे, and so
Right.
that cycle, right? So I thought, I mean, करना तो है, बैकअप नहीं है, करना यही है. So what I did, I just convinced my father, see, I am getting salary at that time, I will just buy a credit card. So रात
Hmm.
में 2 बजे ख्याल आया, ऐसा करते हैं, क्रेडिट कार्ड लेते हैं. आई बुक द क्रेडिट कार्ड रात के 2 बजे ही. एक हफ्ते बाद आया, आई जस्ट ऑर्डर अ मशीन ऑन दैट, राइट?
Okay.
And when I just started getting some revenue, so before convincing
Hmm.
someone else, I must be convinced, right?
Correct.
So as a founder, this must be the skill, right? अगर आप अपना ही प्रोडक्ट नहीं बेच पाओगे, then no sales person can, right? So
That is there.
right, so along the way, so after college, I was kind of a cut off from every people, right?
Hmm.
And I was totally focused on something that I have to build. As I told, it was not never for the greed of money. It was for the greed of value, greed of something,
Hmm.
creating of our own, right? And so the people after 4 or 5 years, those who understood like what I'm trying to build, they tried to connect back. So from family perspective, it was like, initially it was like क्या कर रहा है, क्या कर रहा है, क्या कर रहा है, क्या होगा. I
Hmm.
I told them, leave it to me. I will look. You don't have to get me anything. You don't have to look out for anything, right? Just let me be for 3 4 years. So after that, when they saw, yeah, he's earning. So obviously, no
Hmm.
families check the bank balance. how they see. Any typical Indian family sees like he's able to get, manage himself. He's going on
Correct.
a trip or maybe business
Mm.
trip. He's not asking for money and all. Those kind of things. It gives an idea to the family person. That yeah, he's doing good. He's doing good, right? So from that point of view, it's over a period of time it came to the every mindset that
Now, आज की डेट में there is this is not the time where people want to earn money. This is the time where people want to raise money.
correct,
Market say, this is typical startup cycle. You raise funding, you shout about it on the internet, you burn the money out, go for another round, and keep on repeating the process till you kind of fade out.
correct,
uh, so primarily, what I've observed is people do that. Like, I'm a bootstrap business myself. We bootstrapping it as we do, as we grow. Typically, the funding का logic typically helps an entrepreneur because it's a journey जो आपको पता है कि आप क्या करने वाले हो, बैंक वैंक को समझ में नहीं आता. So कहीं ना कहीं जाके कुछ issues आते हैं, उनको tackle करने के लिए you need some investor who places your trust in the form of money in your company and all of that. Now, when you started up, right, and you decided to bootstrap, of course there were challenges.
correct,
How did you stop yourself? And I'm literally, I mean, I'm genuinely want to I genuinely want to understand this from you, that how did you stop yourself from going in the market and raising some money and pushing through the obstacles that you had?
correct. So basically, see, what I have felt. See, I understood reading balance sheet and all that like around 1.5 2 years back, right?
Okay.
Before that, I was not very much aware of it. I used to know like, yeah, this is the revenue I'm getting, this is the brand I'm creating. So I was more focused on developing the business, right?
Hmm.
Now I know what is equity, what is cash flow. You ask me what's the ROI, and you ask me like what's the uh, net profit percentage scale. I will be able to scale to that, right? So startup is any business is all about, I believe, two things. One is values, another
Hmm.
is money,
Correct.
right? So take example of a car, right?
Hmm.
So the purpose of a car is to take you from one place to another, right?
Correct. Correct.
And you add fuel to it so that you can drive it,
Drive. Yeah.
right?
Correct.
So consider the same thing for a startup. So the startup works for a vision, right?
Correct.
And the
Correct.
vision is of the founder who has started it, right?
Hmm.
And the money flow is the fuel in the car,
Right.
right? It's
Absolutely.
the gas, right? So the end goal is not the money. The end goal is reaching that particular vision or reaching a particular destination with the flow of money or with the values, right? So our first goal is always values. Values as in values in terms of giving what customer wants, giving giving an example like whenever we deliver 3D printed products to a client, say for example from Calcutta to Pune or Delhi or Mumbai, if the part breaks in midway where shipment, we
Hmm.
replace it. Like we don't argue with
Correct.
the customer. So that's our policy
Okay.
that we've added, right? So that's the value we add, right? And obviously you require funding, the monetary value.
Correct.
So the
Hmm.
current scenario is something. आज के टाइम में अगर आप 5 साल ले रहे हो स्टार्टअप करने में, then other companies will come it if it's a very good idea, like if it's a very catchy idea, then other companies will come it and एक साल में करके वो आगे चल जाएंगे, then you will be suppressed, right? So
Correct.
the whole funda, what I feel of raising funding is that is important. I'm not saying it's not important, it's important.
Hmm.
So if you have a very good idea, beat anyone, be it Flipkart,
Hmm.
Amazon, if you have to scale it in a short period of time, right? Then bootstrapping doesn't help always. आप जीरोधा का
Correct.
एग्जांपल ले लो, right?
Hmm.
So long, right?
Correct.
Lead Squared का example ले लो. It's a recently
Hmm.
unicorn startup, right?
हाँ.
2011 company. But these companies, if you compare with others like Byju's or something, like they are laying off employees and the
Hmm.
revenue and all, like there's a difference, right? So
Correct.
if you have to gain something in a short period of time, you require ample amount of money, and that can only come या तो आपका रजवाड़े में घर हो, या तो you are having some good
Correct.
investors, right? So my
Correct.
funda was पहले product पे दम लाते हैं, as I told, and since we became profitable, considering the market here in my area, right? Here in Bengal, people tell to me how you are holding a tech startup like yours in Bengal, right? When I go to meetups
Hmm.
in networking,
Hmm.
because here tech companies are very limited compared
Correct.
to other cities, right? But
Right.
we have developed good clients, like Tata,
Hmm.
Everready, those kind of clients, right? And those have recurring kind of a revenue, right? So अगर suppose 20 client है for example, so एक month में 10 client का order आ रहा है. Now when these 10 are silent, then revenue comes from another 10. So that kind of saturation level you have to reach. Once you reach a
Hmm.
saturation level, either you expand to different cities, maybe franchisee model or D2C model, or you increase the revenue streams, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
if so that, why funda tha? So from the starting it was like we can take funding. So one thing also that helped me up was once you raise a funding from any investor, so if the investor is good, his philosophy matches with yours, then that is like
It's a
a
success.
it's like
Hmm.
a blue moon kind of a thing. But
Correct.
if it doesn't, then the startup is no more founder driven, it is investor driven, right?
Absolutely.
Because once you raise a series funding or seed funding or series A funding, then you have to raise series B, series C, series D until unless you get a good exit. Not you, the
Correct.
investor, basically,
The
right?
investor.
Right.
Correct.
So, and that's the reason why I don't have a co-founder, right? I don't have a
Okay.
co-founder because, see, it's my something that I'm building. Even if I don't
Hmm.
have someone, since past 4 5 years I didn't have one, so I still like made it up, right? I made it till
Correct.
here, right? So co-founder का अगर वो vision नहीं होगा, then it doesn't match up.
It
So
does
that
not
goes
match.
similarly with the investors. So वही है, that's the funda basically.
ईशान, एक चीज जो बहुत ज्यादा मेरे को यू नो सो व्हाट आई ऑब्जर्व राइट टॉकिंग टू यू ऑल दिस वाइल इज you at your age, right, there is this sense of business acumen that you have. Generally, in your age group, people, of your age who've just been out of college for the past 5 7 years, and who've just had an early career and then got into business, generally they are living on a trampoline. They jump lambi lambi baatein, badi badi baatein, but you
Agreed.
talk logic, right?
Correct.
How did you develop this? Were you
Yeah.
always like this, or
No,
did
no,
this
no, no.
maturity kind of settle in when you started the business?
Yeah. So one mindset of mine is that I have learned is कि भागना नहीं है. So when I started, no, in the college time we were in a automobile team. We used to build those. We have built those ATV vehicles जिसका एक competition होता है. Like from third year,
Hmm.
fourth year, people go. So I was in the steering department. I used to design the steering. So we went
Hmm.
to Indore. We had that racing and all. And in that time, the steering was not performing well, right?
Hmm.
Might be some issue. So I came from the pit back to the tent, right? I thought नहीं होगा नहीं देखेंगे. I came back. So there was my one of my juniors. She came and she said, "You should at least come and it was made by you, right? Have a look."
Correct.
So that was one first incident. Second incident, I was working that Gurgaon one. So I left and came back. The reason was not the time shift. The reason was I was not being satisfied with the work. It was like ये करना वो करना, and I was like either I'm wasting his time or my time. So I ran away
Hmm.
from there, right? Third was other thing when I work here. So always it was like I was running from something. From there I thought, यार भागना नहीं है यार. I mean, whatever it is, we have to face
Correct.
it. No matter the positivity, negativity, you have to face it. When it won't work out in life, right? So all these things, as I told, I learned the balance sheet and all 2 years, 1.5, 2 years back, right? All these things came on the way. So when you are working out something, right? You I say it, you never say it, you make a decision a very
Hmm.
hard term, right? अरे ये decision ले लिया खराब हो गया. I always say you make a choice, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So choice is
You make a
something, it's
choice.
a very, very simple and a pleasant word, right? You made a choice, it didn't work out, try the other one. And you should not regret it because it was you in the first place who made it, right? Obviously we
Right.
grew up over time, right? So that's how we make it, right? And over the period of time I learned these things. You have to be crispy clear about what you want. Startup is a fundamental of numbers, right?
Yep.
You have to
Absolutely.
have values. If you are delivering good values, you have to have numbers. So b you go to any b school, business school, right? But I personally feel, though I haven't been to any, but I personally feel, I have interns from MBA, but I personally feel, by talking to them, going to networking events and all that, all these things, practicality things, comes when you are in a company or when you are in a, starting up or event or something. Because I'm not against from someone who's working 9 to 5. If you're happy with a 9 to 5 job, it's good, man.
Correct.
अभी मार्केट में क्या है ना, इट्स अ हाइप, स्टार्टअप करना है, राइट? इट्स अ वेरी बिग हाइप करेंटली कि यार बस ये है, इसको देंगे, ये मिलेगा एंड स्टार्टअप करेंगे, राइट? सो पीपल आर नॉट सीइंग इज लाइक अ करियर अपॉर्चुनिटी। इफ इट्स यू आर डूइंग अ स्टार्टअप, लाइक इफ यू आर वर्किंग फॉर आईएएस, राइट, यू वर्किंग फॉर गेट एग्जामिनेशन, आप तो एक एक साथ ड्रॉप करते हो, पूरा जुनून लगा देते हो, कोचिंग ज्वाइन करते हो लाखों लाखों की, राइट? देन व्हाई डजंट दैट
हुँ,
हैपेंस इन दिस वन, राइट? you
हुँ,
you can't just take it for granted ना कि यार स्टार्टअप करना है, कर लेंगे, हो जाएगा. So you have to pull your dedication as a career perspective, right? I never like भीड़ में चढ़ना was never my,
हुँ,
never my forte, you can say, right? In college also, my every
हुँ,
person in my group went for gate preparation, everything. So मुझे वहाँ भीड़ दिखती है, वो भीड़ में जाना इट्स लाइक नहीं होगा. भीड़ मतलब when you're working going with a bunch of sheeps and all, so you never play with your mindset. So I went to the gate exam. I didn't give the gate exam actually. I was this pad. I was just working out my business model. क्या करना है, कैसे करना है, क्या करना है, कैसे करना है. So it is always like it comes with time, right? You have to be, as I told you, you have to think bright, move on, and that never giving spirit should be there. Yeah.
you know, there are very few people who have, these couple of, I'm going to call them nuggets. ये 3-4 चीज़ें आपने ऐसी बोली हैं जो अब देखा जाए तो आज की डेट में, दिस इज़ व्हाट इज़ रिक्वायर्ड फ्रॉम एवरी बिज़नेस, फ्रॉम एवरी फाउंडर. नंबर 1 इज़,
Mhm.
इट्स नॉट अ डिसीजन, इट्स अ चॉइस दैट यू हैड. एंड ऑफ कोर्स चॉइस है, गलत हो गया, मूव ऑन, गो टू द नेक्स्ट वन. बट देन वी जस्ट कांट बी रिलाइंग ऑन आवर
Correct.
बैड डिसीजंस. एंड आई टेक इट ऑन मी, ओके, मीन आई एम आल्सो वन ऑफ दोस गाइस कि अगर एक बार कोई डिसीजन गलत हो गया, सो आई विल कीप गोइंग बैक कि यार वो गलत क्यों हुआ. इवेंचुअली वी एंड अप इन्वेस्टिंग सो मच ऑफ और ऑन आवर सो मच ऑफ आवर एनर्जी ऑन समथिंग दैट हैज हैपेंड कि जो करना है आगे वो डिले हो जाता है.
Correct, 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 correct.
दैट्स
So you must have read. I don't know whether you read it. Or not. I hear few motivational speakers also, like Simon
करेक्ट,
Sinek, like
या.
the good ones. Like it's not like inspiration बात करने वाले. Simon Sinek is a good one. There's a 5 second rule of Mel
करेक्ट.
Robbins. So she says that uh, whenever a decision has to be made by your mind, by instinct, you have a 5 second window. Like you are sitting in a roundtable conference, for example, for a meeting, and the leader says something, right? कि ऐसा होना चाहिए. You know that if you pinch, say something that you feel is correct, and your boss or your leader will might get influence, but वो 5 सेकंड के बाद your mind kicks in. अरे यार क्या हुआ अगर उसने सुना और उसको नहीं पसंद आया तो what he will think, right? So that 5 second window is very crucial, right? So within that 5 second window, if you make that call, so obviously it might
Of
not be the
course.
right thing, but it helps you, take your decisions.
Correct. So, how many people do you have right now on your team?
Around permanently I have around 5 to 6
Mhm.
people, and floating I have around two.
Okay. So, in this space of 5 to 7 people who are working with you in your company, what also comes in place is people when coming and working for a startup, उनके दिमाग में ये होता है कि ये स्टार्टअप है, मतलब कभी भी दुकान बंद.
Correct.
तो उनका एक अलग ही एटीट्यूड होता है और वो 100-100, 5-5 रुपए की नौकरी छोड़ के चले जाते हैं. Right?
True, very
It
true,
requires a
agreed.
whole lot of leadership skill to kind of drive your human resource also along with your business. How do you do that? What are some things that you have
Yeah,
started to do which have kept your people with you?
correct, correct. So I had laid off only one employee as of now. I'm not saying with pride or anything. Laying off is also a part of a growing
Correct.
startup. If you don't find value in anyone, you should leave out,
Correct.
right? They say na, hire fast and
Fire
fire
faster.
faster. Provided it should be on a
Yep.
valid ground,
Correct.
right? So my philosophy is always like whoever I have, my team, I always meet them face to face, right? And I never judge them on their resume, right?
Hmm.
I tell them the full clear picture. This is the company we are here. This is what we are doing. This is my vision. Like I have to be my company melt is the vision is that we have to be a increasing service provider, leading service provider in these domains across these years, right? Then एक चीज तो ये होती है कि योर एम्प्लॉय फील्स मोटिवेटेड इनफ. सो मोटिवेशन कम्स फ्रॉम money. That's a prime motivation. Second comes from whether the leader, the person above you, is taking care of you or not. That's a very good motivation. Trust me, I have employees from semi-urban areas, rural area also. I have employees
Mm.
from main city also, and I have found it in common that you have to take care of the employee apart from monetary value,
Absolutely.
right? So it's like it's like whenever they are sick and
Mm.
all, it's okay. You can go home like early whenever. So I have always told them, whenever you feel like you are not adding value here,
Mm.
personally you feel you are not adding value here, you come to me and say कि सर भैया जो भी है
Correct.
कि आई फील आई एम नॉट एडिंग वैल्यू हियर, I think I might be good there. So I have, from the first day itself, I have told to each and every person of mine that you are open to any kind of thing that you feel that you are having. So what this does now, because I have been into a corporate for 2 years, I know कि यार उसको बोलेंगे वो क्या सोचेगा, right?
Absolutely.
So ये माइंड से डर ही हटा देना है अपने को. You come to me, if it is solvable, I will do my best. If it's not, we will work on a common ground, right? You give us a time for 1 month, even I will look for you. Then secondly, I have told my employees that you should work with the objective of upskilling yourself, right?
Mm.
Not for the company, upskill yourself, right? So you must have heard that quote, right? A senior manager having a discussion with the CEO said, he's saying to the CEO, sir, you have told to provide training to our employees, right? And what if they get trained and they leave? Then what's the use? So the CEO says, yeah, that's a very correct point. But what if we don't train them and they stay,
Hmm. It's a
right?
damage.
Right? So जिसको जाना जाएगा, you can't
Correct.
control it. But if you are providing the right values, your person will stay, your employees will stay, right? So I've told them, you upskill yourself. You need any training, let me know. I will help you out.
Mm.
So the person that had joined me, he was during COVID, right? He lost his job. He was into accounts. I told him, come join me. You see the accounts also, plus see this aspect
Mm.
also. Initially the salary will be less,
Mm.
maybe. Eventually when you will grow, we will grow together.
Correct.
So he's there. Then one person I hired, he comes from, like, both of them come from very far,
Mm.
like they take around 1.5 hours to
Oh
reach here,
God.
right?
Okay.
And right, so one person comes from there, he's into total into technical production.
Okay.
So right now I don't have to focus on that, he focuses on, whenever he has issues, he calls me, sir bhaiya ye thoda
Mm.
dikkat hai. If I told them, if you need any financial help, let me know. So all these kind of those insecurities which are which they any employee in general have,
Correct.
any employee in general has in mind, I've tried to remove them, right? So that जब उसका फोकस ही नहीं रहेगा इससे में ये ऐसे ऐसे, ही focus on work,
Absolutely. Correct.
right? Right, so my employees basically are not from the profession of the work that they're doing, right? Why? I've never forced them. I tell them, you try it for 1 month, you let me know your feedback, I will let you know my feedback. If it matches, then we'll move on together. So that's how we work. So that's why I think like people stay, right?
Correct.
You show them respect, and you should have the, I mean, I also don't have that much of a leadership skills, but instead being a boss, we should prefer being a leader,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, that's there.
So that's my focus.
So, one last question, Ishan, before I thank you for joining in today, right? So, what is the long term vision of the business? Like, what is the why?
My focus for this business is, we have to be the the leading solution provider in this industry that we are into, in the additive manufacturing or 3D printing, as you can say, right? We have to be the leading 3D printing service provider in all the solutions here. Currently we are for our region, we have, but I personally feel there is much more untapped area which we haven't gone
Correct.
through, which I believe personally, which we can tap into, right? These are things that we we can process, we have the capacity, we need to put our effort. So the long term vision is always, to be one of the leading solution
Hmm.
provider in our
Yeah.
region. Because I may add this
Sure.
small two lines which I've heard, like मंजिल मिले तो ना
Hmm.
मिले, मंजिल मिले या ना मिले ये तो मुकद्दर की बात है, बट हम कोशिश भी ना करें ये तो गलत बात है,
Absolutely. It's worth a try. It's worth a shot.
राइट?
Correct.
सो एनीथिंग इज ऑलवेज वर्थ अ शॉट. उसी पोजीशन से चल रहे हैं. लेट्स सी हाउ इट
Good,
वर्क्स
yeah.
आउट.
I wish you good luck, Ishan. And, very, like I said, right, बहुत कम लोग मिलते हैं मेरे को ऐसे जो इंटरनेट की दुनिया पे धंधा नहीं करते, असल की दुनिया में धंधा करते हैं. आज की डेट में everyone is an internet entrepreneur, but in real life, running businesses
True.
in real life, and focusing on the revenues and the bottom lines is very important, and there are very few people like yourself who are doing it. So I wish you good luck, Ishan, and I
Thank you.
thank you for taking your time on your weekend for this lovely conversation, and
Thank you for having
look
me.
forward to
Thank you.
host you once again. Yeah,
Sure,
take care.
definitely.
Yeah, thanks, Ishan.